While the Public Service Act saw the light of day in Congress, the same can be said for the country's membership in the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP. How exactly will this hold back growth despite the passage of a number of economic measures? Let's get insights from Chris Nelson, Executive Director and Trustee of the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Good morning, Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, and welcome to all your viewers.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Now, Senate sitting still on the country's membership here on RCEP. They're going on a 3-month break here without giving concurrence to its ratification. What is this going to cost us? Will this in any way hold back growth?
Well, I think if you look, first of all, let's just talk about RCEP. It's obviously a very important trading bloc. It's going to be 30% of the world's GDP. Already, Thailand and Vietnam have signed up. So I think the key here is that the delay in ratification obviously would have been beneficial if they'd done it prior to that. We're optimistic when they return in May they will do so. As you rightly refer to the 3 key bills that look like they're going to be passed, obviously Retail Trade Act, Foreign Investment Act and the Public Service Act. But it's very important the Philippines does join RCEP, and obviously we're confident that will happen in May. There have been questions over, obviously, concerns over agriculture, but I think also the DTI, particularly Undersecretary Alan Gepta, has answered those points and actually saying there are also advantages as well for the agricultural producer in terms of obviously access to cheaper fertilizers and other products. Plus, there will be still tariffs or controls on certain key products, obviously pork, poultry and other items. So we're still hopeful. Clearly, it would have been better, but I do think the growth that will be important the Philippines does join. Obviously, we're looking forward to that ratification in May when the Senate returns.
All right, Chris, more to your point earlier as to how there has been much of a pushback here, especially from certain agricultural groups and trade groups, regarding the possibility that, there will be excessive importation here. What assurances do we have that tariffs will not be unilaterally cut off, and at the same time we won't be importing excessively?
Well, I think those are the assurances, and I think to be very fair to the Department of Trade and Investment, they've given those, they've interacted. And I think that the Philippines, he's given those assurances. He's also discussed the fact that there will also be benefits to the agricultural sector, and that, of course, also that certain tariffs will remain on certain key products. And therefore, I think we should also be looking at the opportunities from RCEP, right? RCEP does give an opportunity to many other sectors. And I think it's key, when we talk about the role of the British Chamber, we're very keen to promote the opportunities of investing and trading in the Philippines as a gateway to Southeast Asia. And therefore, I think it's very important for the Philippines to be part of that bloc, particularly, obviously, in the concurrence, as you said, Vietnam, Thailand have joined. My understanding is indications that Indonesia will. So I think overall it's important for that trading bloc to be there. And I think those concerns, which understandably have been raised by the agricultural sectors, have been well answered. And hopefully going forward, we should also look at the opportunities that this gives, not just to that sector, but to many others.
Chris, this is Danny jumping in. Let's focus on the Public Services Act. That was already ratified by Congress. How much of a boost are we expecting from this? Could you also outline, the risks on the table for domestic players here if we do open up? And do you have specific, examples of foreign investors already keen to take this on?
Well, look, I think, first of all, it's an extremely important move. I mean, the act was last, I think, from 1936. So obviously this has been a long time, and all credit to the ones involved. And I think that's now moving I think it's going to be obviously sent to the President for signing. I think it's going to be a clear signal, and I think it will increase competition. I think that it's also a very important signal, Danny, because I think the Public Service Act combined with those other 2 economic liberalization bills clearly indicates that the Philippines is opening up and will further attract foreign investment, which has increased this year in all fairness. So I think it's a very important signal. I think it's going to be a boost to the economy as it comes out of obviously the challenges from the pandemic.
To what extent are foreign investors assured, or at least optimistic about the state of doing business here in the country? I'm talking about corruption, red tape, all of these issues. Have those been resolved for them to be ready enough to jump in?
Well, the interest level has remained high even during the pandemic, and I would add a couple of other points which I think will assist now. I mean, obviously the recent lifting as of February 10th on travel will be a help as well, because obviously we've had business people who wish to visit and meet customers or meet partners. Now that obviously can be facilitated much easier, so that's also going to be a boost. In terms of the ease of doing business, that act was passed obviously during this administration. But more can be done, we feel, and obviously I think that can be accelerated. And I think one of the key areas there will be the increasing use of digitalization, making it a much faster, more transparent process. There has been improvements, but it can continue to do so. So I think combined with what's going on, the interest level of British companies continues to be high in the Philippines. But obviously we want to, and that's why just re-emphasizing RCEP again, it's important that it be part of that, because as I've emphasized, we see the Philippines not only as a very good market in itself with great opportunities and the talent of the people, but also a gateway to Southeast Asia.
Okay, Chris, good thing you pointed out about the easing of travel restrictions. There has been a push now, or at least a call, to ease to alert level 1. Some even floating the idea of a pandemic exit strategy, which may involve doing away with the alert level system altogether. Is this something that the Chamber is amenable to?
Yes, we are. I mean, look, we've all the way through this last 2 years of the pandemic now approaching. We've continued to work closely with, obviously, we've made a reference to Joey Concepcion. He's worked and done, I think, a very extremely hard job and very well, obviously working with the private sector and communicating with ITF. And this is the right opportunity. If I use a comparison with the UK, I mean, the UK is obviously often now moving more to the endemic stage of saying, obviously, we need to live with the virus. We need to obviously observe, the protocols. But yes, it is something we support. And you can see actually that with the opening of the economy, you saw that gave a boost to the economy. I think overall the growth rate in 2021 was 5.6%. And clearly what we're looking for, and obviously projections, I think, from the government side, is to be closer, over 6 and be closer to 7%. So yes, we support that. And I think the way it's trending, and of course that is backed up by the work done, and all credit again to the supply of vaccines. And that's allowed the economy to open up. And I think we are now moving, not just obviously in the Philippines, but across many countries now more into the endemic stage.
Okay, and lastly, Chris, we can't let you go without asking you this. Campaign season has officially started. So far, based from what you hear, are you satisfied with the economic platforms of the candidates and what should be on top of their economic agenda?
Sure. I mean, first of all, we wish all the candidates the best of luck, and hopefully the election will go smoothly. I think that all the candidates, I think we've seen, and a number have made references, of course, of the fact that the need to continue to build the infrastructure in the country. I think also we've seen, and there's been references, and we'd like to see the continuation, and all credit to the current administration for getting these 3 key economic bills to be passed, which again, I'll just emphasize: retail trade, foreign investment act, and the Public Service Act. And then going forward, I think also we want to see, and I think there's been discussions on in terms of building the infrastructure. And of course, coming back to that, of course, on RCEP, if that's signed in, that could lead to higher productivity, better jobs as well. So yes, I think there's going to be that continuing development. And obviously what we're looking forward to is that whoever the next administration is, that those continuing aims of further opening up the economy, developing the infrastructure, and moving further in terms of transparency, digitalization, which has all occurred under the current administration, will continue.
All right, transparency, digitalization, and of course, continuous reopening of the economy. Those are the 3 key agenda three key things that should be part of the agenda, at least according to the British Chamber. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Chris Nelson, Executive Director and Trustee of the British Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much indeed.